Hello my beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mayra and today I am going to be sharing with you guys the story of when I was homeless. But before we begin, please don't forget to subscribe down below, like, comment, share, all that fun stuff. I am super close to 100 subscribers and when I do get there I am going to do a little giveaway, so please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. With that being said, let's get started. Being homeless was never something that I imagined would happen to me. It was definitely not anything I ever planned for happening to me. At the time of this happening, I was already married, so my husband and our two daughters were with us. So Omar had applied to become a correctional officer. I want to say he was on the waiting list for 2 years before he actually got accepted to go to the actual academy. And it's a whole process. If any of you have family members or friends or anything that have gone through the process, it is a headache, okay? He was going to Fresno so often just to go get tests and stuff done. So it was a lot of work. But this is something that Omar seemed convinced he wanted to do. So I was like, okay, if this is what you want to do, then go ahead and try it out. Let's see what happens. Prior to that, Omar was working for Coca-Cola, so he was doing pretty well there. But he had already been working there for like 5 years, so he just wanted a change of scenery. And I understand that, we all get burnt out of whatever we're doing. So when Omar told me he wanted to become a CEO, I instantly knew that it was not a good fit for him. Just because, my husband might look a little intimidating. He's pretty tall and he has a very serious face, but in reality he is a big softie. Like, he's like a gentle giant. So I kind of knew that in the bottom of my heart, I kind of knew that it wasn't for him. I feel like for that type of job you really have to have like a very serious personality, which he does have, but to a certain extent. As the weeks progressed and Omar got more into the program, his attitude towards the whole thing changed a lot. He went in there very excited, and every time he would come home for the weekend, he would have less enthusiasm. He was going to be stationed out in Sacramento, and we knew that. So we decided to put our house on the market, the house that we owned in Greenfield. Honestly, it was a very impulsive move, and I have to say that was my fault. In a way, I just kind of wanted a fresh start because so much happened in that home with Omar and I in our relationship. We had very rocky moments in that home, and it wasn't the most pleasant memories that the home brought. Does that make sense? Like, there was nothing wrong with the house at all, but it was just the memories I had there weren't the greatest, because that home saw the absolute worst and some of the best moments, but a lot of the bad. So when we found out that Omar was going to be stationed in Sacramento, I started looking for apartments out there, and I actually was able to get a deposit in for a really nice apartment. Well, as the weeks progressed, I don't even remember how long he had to be in the academy. I think it was like 12 weeks, something like that. I don't know. But our house, I think, was sitting on the market for like a month, and then we finally got an offer that was like good enough. So we decided to accept the offer. And Omar was at the academy, so I was pretty much trying to, handle things as best as I could. This was definitely like a growing up time for me, because before this, Omar had done everything. I want to say before this whole situation happened, Omar had pretty much done everything for me. So I very much was like in the kid state of mind. Mentally, I was still a child up until this point. So to prepare myself mentally to what, this journey that we were gonna embark on, I joined a CEO Wives of CEOs group, and I was just reading some crazy shit on there. Like, I remember this one lady telling, well, not me, but like in the group, she was talking about how a lot of girls actually were talking about how their marriages were on the brink of divorce because they really didn't spend that much time with their husbands. And yes, the money was good, but you know, who were they going to spend it with? Because their husbands were always working. At one point, I saw a lady post about how she had to answer the door with a gun because her husband was, you know, being a CO and all. There was an inmate that got out that had it for him, that was had it out for him. So she was answering the door with a freaking gun, and I'm like, what? Like, all these conversations that the women were having on the chat were really freaking me out. First of all, I was already once on the brink of divorce, and that's not a place I wanted to be at again. Second of all, I had 2 little girls. Like, how was I supposed to open the door with a gun? It was just not something I wanted. It was not something I looked forward to for Omar to be working as a CEO. Well, anyways, fast forward to Thanksgiving break, and Omar and I are talking, and he just kind of says to me, like, I don't want to go back. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, I don't think I'm gonna like it. I don't think this is for me. And, you know, deep down I was like, yes, because from the start I knew this was not a good fit for Omar. But, you know, realistically speaking, I'm like, we're about to have no home because we have already accepted an offer on our home, and you're about to have no job. Like, what? But of course, I wanted to be supportive. I don't want him to feel like he had to do something just because of the money. Like, that's not something I wanted him to feel, that kind of pressure. Like, oh, you said you were gonna take this job, now you take it. No, like I said from the start, I knew that wasn't for him. So we talked about it, and we talked about it over and over and over again, and we decided that Omar was not gonna go back to the academy. There was just a lot of things leading up to the weeks. He was almost gonna graduate. I swear he was like right there to at the actual graduation of the academy. So that was a little bit of a bummer. But I totally understood him. Like, I would hate it if he would make me do something that I wasn't comfortable with. So I wasn't gonna do that to him. So we ended up taking a drive out to Sacramento, and we picked up the stuff, and he quit the academy. So reality kind of hit us there that our house was pretty much sold. It was already going to close, and Omar had no job. On December 14th, we handed over the keys to our home in Greenfield, and it was a very sad moment. We pretty much sold everything that we could. We only kept very few like household stuff, and we were gonna go stay at my mom's house. I think there was like 8 people living in my parents' house when we were there. So my mom has always taken care of my girls since Alizé was like 1. She's always been the lenient grandma, okay? Whatever mom doesn't do, grandma will do. And that is when my mom and I started bumping heads when I was living with her. And of course I was in her home, so I did not want to disrespect her. But it got to a point where I was very frustrated because Alizé was getting away with way too much stuff. I remember we had an argument one day, and I was like, this is not going to end well, because my mom and I are both very, very prideful women. So I talked to Omar, and I decided that staying with my parents until we got back on our feet was not going to be a good idea. So now we had a car full of stuff. Literally all our belongings, all our clothing were in our car, and we had nowhere to go. And it was very scary. It was very sad. Well, Omar spoke to his parents, and they agreed to let us stay with them at their home in Soledad. They accommodated for us as best as they could, but we were still in the living room, and it was still very, like, it's very crowded. This is the point in time where Omar decided that he was going to go to school to get his Class A. Now, I have to say, I was a little frustrated because at this point I was still the only one working, and I was like, okay, if this is what you have to do, that's fine, go to school. I feel like the hardest was when Omar finally got a job He got his Class A, and then he got a job. Well, he was local. He wasn't like going out of state or anything, but this job was super demanding. So Omar started getting promoted very quickly at his new job, and that meant that he was working longer hours, very long hours. So that meant I was spending more time alone at Omar's parents' house. You feel like an intruder, even though nobody ever did anything to us. Everybody was always very nice to us. You just feel like an intruder. And you know, at times my girls would be very loud and they would be running around. And Omar was getting home so late. He was working weekends, he was working nights, he was working days. And I could see it in his face. He was tired, he was exhausted. But he was working hard for us to get us out of the situation we were in. I can definitely say that this point in time was when I was the most depressed that I have ever been. Beyond what I was when I had the baby blues with Alize. Every time I would have to go do laundry, pack my stuff up, and having to go put it back in the truck was so heartbreaking for me. I was exhausted. I was sad. It was horrible. It was honestly horrible. And you know, not having Omar there and him having work all these crazy hours made it that much worse. I think we were there for like 9 months in total. So we talked about renting out a place, but everything's so expensive out in the Bay Area. So we just decided not to rent and just to wait it out until we could get approved. Omar and I finally got approved and we started shopping and we found the home we live in now. If you guys want to know about how that went, I will link the video in the description so you guys can check that out. Definitely was a really big test for us. It tested our relationship. It tested our ability to survive. It was rough. It was really rough, but I'm glad that we made it out. So that is the story of how and why we were homeless. And if you guys are going through anything similar, just know that just keep working hard for what you want. And that goes beyond like working at a job. That's mentally too. You have to work on yourself mentally every day. Hard work pays off, so just keep going at it, and sooner or later you're going to get out of the hole you're in. Believe me, it took us 9 months to get out of the hole we were in, and I know for some people it can be more or less time. Just keep working hard, believe in yourself, and keep working, and you will get there. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please don't forget to subscribe down below, like, comment, share, all that fun stuff. Please stay safe out there, and I will see you very soon.